I was seated on a turbulent flight halfway through a business trip when the most terrifying phone call of my life came through. My phone buzzed violently against the tray table. FaceTime Maria, our housekeeper. She never called me. Ever. Her face filled the screen, pale and wet with fear. Her voice was a broken whisper through the cabin noise. "Ma'am, is anyone else in the house?" My stomach dropped. "No. Ethan went to work." "Why?" Her trembling eyes flicked upward toward the second-floor hallway behind her. "There's a woman walking upstairs." The call cut, and everything inside me collapsed. 9 hours earlier, I arrived in Chicago, briefcase, structured blazer, hotel keycard ready like a weapon against exhaustion. I lived in airports and meeting rooms chasing contracts and milestones. And my husband Ethan always said he admired that. I married someone brilliant, he used to tell me. Lately he'd stopped saying it. Our routines were polite and distant. Two professionals scheduled into each other's calendars. Marriage streamlined, efficient, and, increasingly, silent. But none of that mattered when Maria said what she said. After the call dropped, my fingers shook as I immediately dialed 911. The dispatch operator's calm voice tried to steady my panic, but adrenaline drowned out everything except one terrifying image. A stranger inside the home I thought I knew. I stared out the airplane window at a sky too bright for the kind of fear spreading through me. Seatbelt light flicked on. The plane jolted. And I kept hearing her voice. "There's a woman walking upstairs." Not, "I think I heard something." Not, "maybe someone." A woman. As soon as we landed, I stood in the aisle before the seatbelt sign went off. People grumbled, ignored. I practically ran off the plane, suitcase wheels skittering across polished tile. In the rideshare, I called Ethan, straight to voicemail. The police checked the house, reported nothing unusual, suggested Maria startling herself. But Maria wasn't the kind of woman who made mistakes about danger. When I texted her to check in, she replied only once. "I'm sorry, ma'am, I can't go back." An apology soaked in terror. Background: the house. We'd bought the place 3 years ago, a cozy 2-story with a manicured yard, an open-concept kitchen, and a primary closet. Ethan insisted on renovating for more storage. I'd been on a week-long business trip during that renovation. When I returned, the closet looked deeper. More space. He brushed off my questions with his charming laugh. "You're always saying you need more room for shoes, right?" I hadn't thought about it again. Not until Maria's trembling voice replayed in my head over and over, like words echoing down a dark staircase. That evening, sitting at the edge of my hotel bed with Chicago's skyline flickering outside the window, I opened the security app to check the house cameras. Motion alert, upstairs hallway. I tapped the feed. Dark screen, camera offline. I tried the primary bedroom camera. Playback unavailable. Ethan had insisted on installing those systems. He controlled the password. He controlled the remote settings. He controlled everything. I tried calling him again. No answer. Finally, a text. "Busy day, everything fine. Maria overreacted." Overreacted. The way abusive men dismiss women's intuition. The way guilty people rewrite reality. "Call me," I replied. 3 dots appeared, vanished. No call. The next morning, I attempted to force down breakfast and focus on the client pitch. Logic battled emotion. Maybe Maria misunderstood. Maybe the police missed something. Maybe the app glitched. But fear doesn't do logic. During my presentation, my phone buzzed in my pocket. Another alert. Upstairs. Offline again. It was like the house was breathing in secret. By mid-afternoon, I couldn't pretend anymore. I rescheduled the remaining meetings. My boss protested until he saw my face. I went straight to the airport and moved my return flight up. On the plane home, turbulence shook the cabin again, but this time the fear didn't come from the sky outside. It lived beneath my ribs. As the city came into view through the clouds, my phone finally buzzed. Ethan. I answered instantly. His voice was flat. Why are you flying back? There was no concern, no fear for me, only irritation. I just want to be home, I said, forcing calm. You're being ridiculous. His sigh dripped with practiced patience. Stress is making you imagine things again. Imagine, the very word meant to erase a woman. I'll see you tonight, I said, making a promise to myself more than him. When we hung up, the screen reflected my face-hard edges replacing soft ones, a woman bracing for truth. Back on our street, the house looked postcard perfect. Spring flowers blooming, porch light glowing warmly as if inviting me inside. But inside, I felt something waiting. I stepped into silence so thick it pulsed in my ears. The smell of citrus cleaner, the distant hum of the refrigerator, too normal. I rolled my suitcase to the foot of the stairs. My heart was a fist pounding inside my chest. I reached out and laid my hand on the banister. The upstairs hallway stretched before me, in my mind dark, watchful. Was there someone right now at the top of those stairs, listening to me breathe? I took one step up, then another. The wood creaked, a small, painful confession. I paused midway. Motion alert, primary bedroom, 10:42 p.m. Camera offline. And that's when I realized this wasn't an intruder. This was someone Ethan allowed in. Or worse, someone he brought there. The kind of woman who didn't fear being caught. The kind of woman who walked upstairs like she belonged. And suddenly, I wasn't afraid of a stranger anymore. I was afraid of my husband. I barely slept my first night home. Every creak of the house snapped me awake, my heart kicking against my ribs like a trapped animal. I kept replaying everything: Maria's trembling voice, the glitching cameras, Ethan's icy lack of concern. Our marriage used to be full of warmth, inside jokes, late-night takeout conversations, touches that meant more than words. But now there was an entire floor between us, literally and emotionally. And I needed to know why. The morning light filtering through the blinds only made it more real. This wasn't a nightmare. This was my house. Something was wrong inside it. With shaky hands, I opened the home security app. The screen pulsed with new alerts from the night before. Motion detected, upstairs, hallway. Motion detected. Master bedroom sound detected. Walk-in closet. But every clip read the same thing. Playback unavailable, camera offline. Again. Only upstairs, always upstairs. A shiver crawled beneath my skin. I tried a different approach, checking the system's event log. Lines of text scrolled. Manual override initiated, camera disabled hallway, camera disabled master bedroom access, by administrator. Administrator, which meant Ethan? My throat tightened. Why would he disable only the upstairs cameras? Why hide what was happening where we slept? A quiet thought whispered inside me: because he doesn't want you to see. Coffee did nothing to calm me. My hands were still unsteady as I picked up my phone and dialed Maria. Voicemail. I tried again. On the third attempt, she finally answered, breathing fast like she'd been running. Ma'am, I'm sorry, she blurted before I could speak. I shouldn't have called that day. I shouldn't. No, I interrupted, gentler than I felt. You did the right thing. What exactly did you see? She hesitated. I could hear street noise around her, like she was outside, far away from my house. It wasn't just footsteps, she said softly. I saw her, at the top of the stairs. My pulse spiked. What did she look like? Dark hair. Pale. She didn't seem scared. More like... Maria struggled for words. She knew she wasn't supposed to be seen. I gripped the countertop until my knuckles whitened. And Ethan, I pushed. She swallowed hard. He showed up suddenly. Before the police came. He told me I misunderstood. But his eyes. Another pause. A tremble. He wanted me to be afraid. A chill stabbed down my spine. Maria, I whispered, why did you really quit? She exhaled shakily. Because I've seen husbands turn dangerous when they think no one will believe the wife. I closed my eyes. She'd seen something like this before. She had experience reading the storm before it hit. And she believed me. "Maria," I said, grounding myself in her name, "if you notice anything else, anything at all, call me, please." "I already have," she murmured, and hung up. I stared at the phone. Her words hit me with delayed force. "I already have." Was she the one who texted me before the unknown number? Was she trying to protect me quietly from a distance? A newfound gratitude bloomed inside my chest, but it was quickly overshadowed by terror. Because if Maria, who had nothing to gain, was scared of Ethan, what did that say about the man I married? I checked the house again, walking slowly down the hallway like stepping through a crime scene. Everything looked so familiar, yet everything felt invaded. Our framed photos watched silently from the walls, birthdays, anniversaries, vacations. Smiles that now looked like lies. I paused at the base of the stairs, staring up. The second floor loomed like a trapdoor to the unknown. The silence felt staged, perfect, like someone was listening behind the walls. I climbed halfway up before my phone vibrated suddenly. Sound detected, master bedroom, play audio. My finger hovered, tap. Static, then a soft humming, a woman's voice, in my bedroom. She wasn't afraid. She sounded comfortable. My hand flew to my mouth to suppress a gasp. The humming stopped. And then laughter. A man's laugh overlapping hers, low, familiar. "Ethan!" The phone slipped slightly in my grip. There was no mistaking it. While I was out of town working to help build our future, my husband was upstairs with another woman, laughing with her, sleeping with her, living a second life in the shadows of our home. Something inside me cracked. Not my heart, something deeper. A trust I didn't even realize I was still holding on to. I confronted him that evening once he finally returned home. He walked through the door with the same rehearsed routine jacket hung neatly kiss on the cheek. Too soft to feel grocery bag set on the counter like domestic bliss was real. "We need to talk," I said. "Okay." He frowned. "What's wrong?" "No games, Ethan. Who is she?" The silence that followed was dangerous. His face remained calm, but his eyes sharpened. A predator recognizing the moment prey notices the cage. "Are you feeling all right?" His tone softened into patronizing concern. "You've been under a lot of stress. Maybe you heard the TV? Or maybe Maria." "Don't blame Maria," I snapped. "I heard you. On the camera audio. You were laughing with her. In our room." He blinked once, twice, expression blank, too blank. Then came the smallest smirk. "Our cameras have been glitching, you know that." Glitch. The simple word meant to erase proof. Erase me. "You're imagining things again," he added, voice dripping with fake sympathy. Again. Why did that word feel rehearsed? Prepared? Weaponized? He stepped forward. "I'm worried about you. You've always had a vivid imagination." No, he wasn't worried. He was building a narrative. Unstable wife, delusional behavior, unreliable witness. It hit me all at once. He needed me to doubt myself. Because the only thing more dangerous than a cheating husband is a cheating husband who wants you to look insane. "No," I whispered, taking a step back. "You don't get to rewrite this." The mask slipped. His smile vanished. A cold gleam replaced it. "We'll talk later," he said flatly, "when you're calmer." He brushed past me like I was an inconvenience. As he walked upstairs, his footsteps were steady. Not sneaking, not guilty. Confident. Like he owned the house, owned the lies, owned me. That night, as I lay awake staring at the ceiling fan, spin lazily in the dark, I realized this wasn't about cheating anymore. It wasn't about another woman. It wasn't even about love lost. This was about control. My husband wasn't hiding an affair. He was hiding a plan. And the scariest part, he believed he'd already won. Morning sunlight did nothing to loosen the dread that had settled into my bones. I rose before Ethan woke, already dressed and ready to search for answers he had tried to bury. He left the house without much conversation, just a nod, a dismissive, "We'll talk later," and the sharp click of the lock behind him. I waited until his car disappeared down the street before I let myself breathe. Today I wasn't running. I wasn't doubting myself. I was investigating my own life. I started in the place that always tells the truth, the digital world. I pulled up our joint bank account on my laptop. Large transfers, frequent withdrawals, a second credit card, one I never signed for. Charges to jewelry stores, hotels, restaurants in neighborhoods Ethan never took me to. The pieces slid into place with sickening ease. He was funding a life I didn't know existed, with money that was mine. I dug deeper. I found a new account under my name, a name he had access to, a name he could control. Finally, I checked the life insurance policy he'd convinced me to increase last winter. His signature, my forged one. A cold shiver ran across my shoulders. He wasn't planning a divorce. He was planning for me to disappear. The house felt different now. Not haunted by a ghost, haunted by a truth. I moved through the hallway with a purpose, my phone camera ready to document everything. Guest room, office, bathroom. All clean, too clean. I reached our bedroom. The air felt thicker. I scanned the room like a crime scene technician. That's when I saw it, just a tiny detail, but it hit like a gunshot. A strand of long dark hair twisted around the base of Ethan's lamp. I don't have long dark hair. I placed it carefully into an envelope, my fingers trembling but controlled. Then I looked at the closet. The renovation. The extra storage. I walked inside, brushing coats aside, feeling along the walls with flat palms until a hollow sound beneath my knuckles. There. I crouched down. The carpet edge lifted slightly, revealing a metal lip. A hidden seam. My heartbeat thundered. Ethan had carved out a secret inside the walls of our home. I pressed the seam, nothing. Then I noticed a latch tucked behind a row of jackets. My fingers curled around it. The click echoed like a warning shot. The hidden door cracked open. A rush of cold air swept over me, sterile, suffocating. I swallowed my fear and pulled it open further. A staircase, narrow, unlit, descending into the dark. This wasn't storage. This was a prison. I stepped inside and gently eased the closet door shut behind me. My phone flashlight sliced through the darkness. Each creak of the stairs sounded like a scream. Halfway down I heard it. Breathing, soft, human, alive. My grip tightened on the phone. One more step. Another. At the bottom, a small concrete room emerged from the shadows. A cot, crumpled blankets, a half-empty water bottle, scratch marks on the wall. And in the far corner, a woman. Knees to chest, hair tangled in black knots, eyes wide and hollow. I froze. She flinched when the light hit her face. Her lips parted. "You," she whispered. "He told me you weren't real." Her voice was paper-thin, her wrists bruised, her ankles scraped raw. I lowered the light slightly, keeping it away from her eyes. "My name is Avery," I said, voice shaking despite the steel in my spine. "Who are you?" She swallowed hard. "Elise." The name hit me like a fist. Elise Harper, the coworker Ethan mentioned once, last year, the one who left the company suddenly. But she didn't leave. He brought her here. "What did he tell you?" I asked gently. I met him at work," she whispered. "He said he was trapped in a toxic marriage, that his wife threatened him, that you were violent, jealous, unstable." Her voice cracked. "He said I had to stay hidden, that if you knew about me, you would kill me." My breath fractured. I crouched closer. "Elise?" I said, "He lied to both of us. He's trying to isolate us. He's trying to make us doubt our own minds." Her eyes shimmered with hope so fragile it might break. "You're not crazy," she whispered. "No," I said. And for the first time in weeks, I felt certainty like a fire. And neither are you. Her hands trembled when I helped her stand. She recoiled when she saw the stairs. He checks on me, she stammered. If he finds us together, we'll be gone before he gets back, I promised. I know the schedule he keeps. And now I know who he really is. The pieces clicked together horrifyingly well. Financial fraud, insurance lies, secret room, psychological manipulation, a new woman to replace me, a narrative framing me as unstable. He wasn't cheating. He was constructing a future without me, one where he wasn't the villain I was. We climbed the stairs in choking silence. I placed my ear to the closet door before opening it just an inch. No footsteps, no movement. We slipped into the bedroom. Elise's knees buckled at the feel of the carpet freedom soft beneath her feet. I guided her into the hallway, planning our escape. The police call everything. Buzz! A text vibrated in my pocket. Unknown number. He's coming home early. Ice shot through my veins. Another message. You don't have much time, Avery. My gasp filled the hallway in a shaky rush. Elise clung to my arm, terror flooding her eyes. What do we do? She pleaded. I didn't have a plan, only instinct. But instinct is all a woman needs when survival becomes the only goal. I swallowed the rising panic. We run, I said. Elise nodded. And we did. We bolted down the stairs, shoes on, keys grabbed, fear snapping at our heels. I threw open the front door. Sunlight spilled in like salvation. But the driveway was already filling with headlights. Ethan's car. He wasn't supposed to be home yet. He stepped out, locking eyes with me across the lawn. A slow smile spread across his face, a knowing one. Like he'd been waiting for this moment. Like he'd always known. Avery, he said softly, voice almost tender. You've been very busy. Elise trembled behind me. I shifted to shield her. The wind carried his next words, clearly chilling the air between us. I told you, you imagine things. And in that moment I understood. Ethan wasn't scared of confrontation. He was prepared for it. Which meant our window for escape was closing fast. Ethan took a step toward us, calm as ever, the breeze lifting his shirt collar like even the wind bowed to him. Elise clutched my arms so tightly my fingers went numb, but I stood my ground because fear feeds men like Ethan, and I refused to feed him anymore. You shouldn't have gone in the closet, he said, voice low. You never could respect boundaries. He didn't deny the room. He didn't deny Elise. He denied only my right to question him. Elise, he added with a lift of his chin, go back inside. The way he spoke to her, commanding not requesting, made bile rise in my throat. She's not going anywhere with you, I shot back. His eyes hardened. Just a flicker, but enough. A wolf's patience thinning. Then he smiled again, covering the crack. Avery, honey, you've been under so much pressure. He took another step. You're confused. You're creating stories in your head again. Again. There it was. The script he'd been rehearsing. The unstable wife narrative he had built brick by brick. Isolated from friends, exhausted from work, cameras glitching to fuel doubt. Life insurance policy increased. Medical documents forged under my name. And worst of all, a woman hidden inside our walls told that I was the monster. Two realities. Ethan positioned safely in the middle, holding the remote to both. He tilted his head, voice soft enough to be a dagger sheathed in velvet. Put Elise down for a nap, he joked. She looks exhausted. Elise whimpered behind me. I stepped backward toward my car. We're leaving, I said. No, he replied, voice snapping like teeth behind a smile. You aren't. We had no time to think, only react. I shoved Elise toward the passenger door. She fumbled with the handle. Ethan lunged, but adrenaline made me quick. I slammed the door between us and locked the car. His hand smacked the window, a sudden burst of fury cracking through the performance. Avery, he barked. Open the door. No, I mouthed. Because if I opened it, the next headline would read, "Woman tragically dies in freak accident. Husband devastated." I tore down the street, leaving him shrinking in the rearview mirror, his calm facade slipping into a snarl that promised retribution. Not fear, not guilt. Rage that his control had slipped. We parked several blocks away, hidden between two old maple trees. Elise curled into herself in the back seat, shaking so violently the whole car trembled. "He's going to find us," she whispered. "He always does." "Not this time," I told her, though my pulse betrayed me. "We're smarter together." The phone buzzed again. Unknown number. "Get out of sight. Do not go home." Another message followed immediately. "Gather evidence. Everything you can. He's already started the story that you are unstable." My breath stilled. Someone was watching this unfold. Someone who knew Ethan's moves. Someone who had been helping me quietly all along. I typed, "Who are you? How do you know what he's doing?" No response. Not yet. But that didn't matter. The message was clear. We needed to document everything before Ethan erased every trace of his crimes. We drove to a small deserted coffee shop parking lot. I powered up my laptop, hands steadier now with purpose. "What are you doing?" Elise whispered. "Saving us." I downloaded logs of every disabled camera with timestamps, screenshotted bank statements, accessed archived audio clips from the server Ethan didn't realize synced to the cloud. Then I recorded Elise's testimony, her full account with dates she remembered, company details, everything. She trembled through the story, but every word was a brick in the wall closing around Ethan. I emailed copies to my sister's law firm, labeling the message innocently. "For review, family trust documents. No one snoops into boring tax paperwork." By afternoon, we had enough to get a judge to at least issue a protective order and a search warrant. My phone buzzed again. Unknown number. "Good start. Do not confront him directly. He will escalate." A chill washed down my spine at the accuracy. Ethan wasn't panicked. He was calculating his next move. He wasn't afraid of police. He was afraid of losing control. We drove to a vacant rental owned by Maria's cousin, a humble place with faded curtains and wallpaper that peeled like old secrets. But it was shelter. And unknown to Ethan. Maria met us at the door. She looked like she had aged years in just a few days. "I am sorry," she whispered. "I should have fought for you sooner." "You saved us," I told her. "You're the reason we're here." She nodded, tears threatening. "You're not alone," she said, touching my shoulder. "Women like us have to look out for each other." For the first time since the nightmare began, I believe that. That night, in the dimly lit rental living room, Elise finally asked, "Why do you think he did this?" The real question: why would a man who had everything still want more? I stared at the ceiling, listening to the pipes groan as if the house remembered every woman who'd ever been silenced. "Control," I finally said. "Some men don't love women, they love having power over them." We were roles in his story, not characters, props. And if we don't act the way he writes us, he rewrites us, I said. Into villains, into lunatics, into missing persons. Elise wiped tears with trembling fingers. "I believed him," she choked out. "I believed you were dangerous." "So did I whispered. "For a while. But truth has a way of clawing through lies." And now truth was on our side. Later, alone in the small bathroom, I stared at my reflection. Not the corporate polished woman I used to be, not the wife molded to please, not the paranoid victim he painted. Something stronger, sharper, awake. I placed my palm flat against the mirror. "You're not the one losing your mind," I told my reflection. "He is losing his power." My phone lit up beside the sink. Unknown number. "He won't stop. Prepare yourself." Instead of fear, I felt clarity. I texted back, "We are ready." For the first time, the reply came instantly. "Good. Because the truth is coming out tomorrow." I looked at my own eyes in the mirror. Not shaking, not doubting, not small. "He thinks he's the hunter," I whispered. But he locked himself in the cage. That night at Maria's cousin's rental, the walls felt too thin. Every car that passed made Elise jump. Every gust of wind made all three of us stare at the door. Survival made us quiet, but fear made us sharp. Maria brought blankets and tea, but more importantly, she brought truth. I didn't just run, she said, hands tightly wrapped around her rosary. I installed a camera. I stared at her. You what? She nodded, eyes wet, but determined. After I heard crying the first time, Ethan told me there was no one. But... She paused, swallowing whatever memory choked her. My instinct said otherwise. She pulled out a small USB and placed it on the coffee table like a loaded weapon. That's what I sent you, from my backup phone. I was afraid, but I wasn't going to leave Elise behind. Elise let out a sob. I squeezed her hand. Maria didn't just witness horror, she chose to fight it. While they rested, I reviewed the footage on my laptop. Clip after clip. Ethan entering the hidden room, Elise crying, begging to go home, Ethan telling her, she's dangerous, you have to trust me, him disabling the hallway cameras, him locking the secret door behind him each time. His voice on video was a calm tutorial in manipulation. A charming kidnapper practicing lines in the dark. There was no cheating, no romance. Just control. Just ownership. Just a carefully planned disappearance mine. Around 2 a.m., Elise restlessly traced a crack in the rental's ceiling. How long do you think he's been planning this? She whispered. I thought of the closet renovation, the insistence on more storage space, the insurance policy increase, the therapist card he gave me. Years, I answered, piece by piece. Elise shut her eyes and tears slid sideways into her hair. He convinced me I owed him everything, she said. Gratitude, obedience, love. He preyed on both of us, I said. But he failed to consider something. She looked at me confused. That women don't stay caged forever. Her breath hitched in a laugh. A real one. The first spark of her returning self. By morning, I was deep into investigation mode. I recorded Elise's full testimony, photos of her injuries, documents showing Ethan's financial fraud, audio logs of Ethan gaslighting me, notes connecting his behavior to the insurance documents. And we found something new in the rental Wi-Fi logs. Ethan attempted remote access to my laptop overnight. He knew we were preparing. He was trying to erase our truth. My stomach twisted. He's accelerating his plan, I whispered. He knows we're not playing our roles anymore. Maria crossed herself. He is dangerous when cornered. I nodded, which means he'll act soon. And he did. That evening, when the sky burned orange and the air stilled like the world bracing itself, the pounding started. Bang, bang, bang. We froze. The front door rattled violently in its frame. Elise's face went white. Maria grabbed my arm. His voice boomed. Avery, we need to talk. He was here. He had found us. Too soon. My pulse rocketed. Maria hustled Elise into the back bedroom. Hide, she hissed. I grabbed my phone and hit record, breathing hard but silent. Ethan slammed his fist again, voice dripping venom disguised as worry. People are concerned about you. Open the door before things get worse. Translation: before he made them worse. He paused, lowered his tone. You can't save her, you know. She's too far gone, he crooned. She believes all of your delusions now. The manipulation was practiced, polished, designed for police microphones. I stayed silent. He hated silence. A car turned onto the street, headlights flashing through our curtains. Police. But not because they believed me. Because he called them. Sirens chirped once. Officers stepped out. Ethan immediately switched into grief-stricken husband mode. Officer, thank God, he said breathlessly. My wife is mentally unstable. She kidnapped someone. Please help me before she hurts herself. Every lie smooth as silk. The police knocked gently. Ma'am, are you inside? We'd like to check everyone's well-being. I lifted the phone, showing Maria, showing Elise. We nodded together. Time to flip the script. Officers, I called out loudly, steady as stone. I have evidence of unlawful imprisonment, identity fraud, and insurance manipulation. If you force entry without a warrant, you'll be destroying a crime scene. Silence. Ethan's facade fractured. And that's when Maria acted. She slid her phone under the door, recording the entire hallway scene, and whispered, "They can see him. The truth." The officers studied the screen. Their eyes widened. Because the camera footage Maria captured included Ethan entering and exiting the secret room. He wasn't rescuing Elise, he was possessing her. The officer nearest Ethan stepped back, posture shifting. "Sir, we need you to stay right there." Ethan's face twisted into something feral. "You stupid." He lunged for the phone. The officers restrained him instantly. Handcuffs, a read of rights, the sound of his world collapsing. Elise cried quietly into Maria's shoulder. I leaned against the wall, shaking with adrenaline, not fear. Relief. His voice tried to claw its way out even as they pulled him toward the squad car. "Avery, you can't do this. You need me. She needs me." Maria stepped forward and spoke for all of us. "No, you need help." He screamed my name as the doors slammed, then the car disappeared down the street. Inside, the three of us stood tangled in breathless silence. It was over. Except I knew better. Men like Ethan don't end with handcuffs. They end with consequences. Permanent ones. The officer returned to the door, polite but alert. "Ma'am, we'll need statements, and more backup is on the way." I nodded. "We have everything documented," I said. His eyes flicked to Maria, our unlikely hero. "This woman saved lives tonight," he said quietly. Maria pressed a trembling hand to her chest. Elise grabbed my hand, warm, real, alive. "You saved me," she whispered. I shook my head. We saved each other. Later, when the house finally stilled, my phone buzzed one last time. "Finish it." It was Maria's backup number, the same one that warned me, guided me. I looked at her. She gave a small, knowing smile. "I told you, women like us must look out for each other." She wasn't just a witness. She wasn't just an ally. She was the reason Ethan failed. I closed my eyes, letting a long-held breath escape. Tomorrow would be about courtrooms and interviews and rebuilding. But tonight we survived. And that was the first step toward victory. To outsiders, the night might have looked like victory. Ethan was in handcuffs. Police cars lined the street. Truth had finally broken the surface. But survival taught me not to celebrate too soon. Because men like Ethan don't disappear quietly. They strategize, manipulate, and slither through cracks in a system unprepared for charm, weaponized as madness. So as the blue and red lights faded, the real war began. Inside the rental, Elise sat at the table wrapped in a borrowed sweatshirt. Maria placed tea in front of her with motherly care, but Elise's hands shook too violently to hold the cup. "It's okay," Maria murmured. "You're safe now." Elise gave a tight nod, but her eyes remained terrified. The officer who had stayed behind cleared his throat gently. "We've taken preliminary statements tonight, but official interviews will continue tomorrow. We'll arrange a protective order for both of you." "And Ethan," I managed. "He'll be held overnight," the officer replied, "but his lawyer is already making calls." Of course, Ethan always had a plan. "And just so you're prepared, he's already claiming all of this was a mental breakdown on your part," the officer continued delicately. "And that Elise is confused and brainwashed." My jaw clenched. He hadn't even had a full ride in the back seat, and the narrative machine was already spinning. After the officer left, the three of us sat in exhausted silence until Elise spoke. "What if they believe him?" she whispered. I leaned forward. "We have camera footage, bank records forged, signatures, your injuries." She shook her head. "He's good at this. He convinced me the world outside was a threat. He convinced people I was unstable too." Maria placed a hand over Elise's. But now you have witnesses. Her voice wavered, but the conviction in her eyes was steel. We slept in shifts that night, paranoia woven into the blankets. At dawn, Claire arrived, my sister, a lawyer with a spine forged from courtroom heat. She hugged me tight, then studied Elise and Maria with protective focus. You all did incredibly well, she said. But we're not relying on incredible. We're going to rely on irrefutable. She pulled out 2 thick binders, one labeled Evidence, the other Timeline. Her approach wasn't emotion, it was structure, strategy. Exactly what this case needed. We're petitioning for a search warrant today, she announced. Maria's footage gives us probable cause. Elise's direct testimony confirms false imprisonment. The insurance papers prove motive. Avery, the wife, was terrified. Avery, the consultant, recognized a flawless argument. And Claire added, lowering her voice, we also have something else. She slid her phone across the table. On screen was a message transcription Ethan's voice caught from one of the cloud-synced audio clips. Once she's declared incompetent, the policy money is mine. The accident is just the easy part. Elise's breath shuddered. Maria's eyes filled with holy fury. But inside me, something colder ignited. Clarity. He didn't just want freedom, he wanted profit. He didn't just want control, he wanted consumption. He didn't just want me gone, he wanted to be rewarded for my absence. By mid-morning, the police station was a hive of buzzing printers and tired officers. We each sat through individual interviews, detailed, grueling, emotionally raw. Elise told the story of the day she transferred offices, of waking up locked inside the hidden room. Maria described whispered cries and Ethan's threats disguised as warnings. I detailed every financial irregularity, every glitching camera, every gaslighting comment designed to rewrite my sanity. The officer taking notes kept pausing, swallowing the horror. This is extensive, he muttered. Yes, I replied. He planned for a long time. My voice didn't shake. Because fear wasn't driving anymore. Purpose was. By noon, police officers, a locksmith, and forensic techs entered our home with a warrant in hand. I refused to go inside. I didn't need to see those walls again. Not like that. But through the police radio, I heard the report. Secret access point located in primary closet, matching witness statements. Caught and personal items recovered, confirming victim presence. DNA samples collected. Ethan's carefully constructed world, the fake image of a devoted husband and brilliant strategist, was crumbling brick by brick. He had carved a prison into the heart of our home. Now the system was documenting every inch of it. Late afternoon delivered the moment we had worked for. Ethan Carter formally charged with kidnapping, false imprisonment, fraud, forgery, attempted insurance crime, coercive control. He wouldn't be released tonight, or likely anytime soon. But victory didn't feel like a parade. It felt like exhaustion laced with vigilance. Because trauma doesn't vanish when justice arrives. It watches from a corner of the mind. That evening, Elise approached me on the rental's back patio. The sun was setting a soft lavender bruise across the sky. You saved my life, she whispered. No, I said. He underestimated us. She exhaled, relieved but hollow. What now? Now we reclaim who we are, I said. She nodded slowly. The future was terrifying, but it was hers again. Maria joined us with 3 mugs of fresh tea. To surviving, she toasted quietly. I tapped my mug against theirs. To us, I corrected. As night settled around us, my phone buzzed again. A private number, not Maria's backup, not Claire, not the police. Blocked caller. My chest tightened, but I answered. A breath, a familiar one. Then Ethan's voice, low, slick, unbroken. You think you've won. My mouth went dry. You think this ends with a few charges? He huffed a dark laugh. I built a narrative for months. People trust me. You're just another unstable wife who couldn't handle reality. I didn't speak. Silence lets truth vibrate louder. His voice sharpened. You will regret turning on me. You will regret being alive. Click. The line went dead. I lowered the phone slowly. Maria watched my face and knew instantly. He will try again, she said softly. Yes, I replied. Elise's fingers curled around the armrest knuckles white. What do we do? I stood. My fear was still present, but it bowed now, not ruled. We finish what we started, I said. He built a nightmare. I continued, voice steady, but he forgot one thing. They waited. He taught the wrong women how to escape. And now we were turning every weapon he forged against him. 3 months later. The ocean breeze felt like permission to breathe again. I stood barefoot on the small balcony of my new cottage overlooking a quiet stretch of California coastline. Not the postcard kind. The real kind, salt-stung air pelicans gliding low and waves that arrived with patience instead of drama. Life had become simpler, not easier, just mine. I left the city after the hearings. Sold the house that once held secrets in its walls. Cut my hair shorter. Changed my email. Opened a new bank account. Bought this little place by the beach with my own money. No one else's name tied to it. Especially not Ethan's. Elise moved into a transitional program for survivors of domestic exploitation. She was reclaiming her identity one art class and therapy session at a time. We spoke often, safe voices anchoring each other across miles. Maria stayed in her neighborhood, but her role in our story was immortal. She carried herself differently now, chin higher, eyes brighter. When the department commended her for crucial evidence, she only said, "Women protect each other, that's all." She asked me once if I regretted anything. I told her the truth. I regret not listening to my instincts sooner. But I no longer regretted surviving. Ethan's trial was still in progress, his army of lawyers spinning webs so tight they tangled around their own ankles. He filed claims of defamation, insanity, coercion, every excuse a guilty man claws for. But evidence doesn't lie. Cameras don't lie. Women together don't lie. His bail was denied. A predator with a charming smile can fool the world for a while, but he can't outrun the truth forever. The detective called me last week. We've uncovered additional accounts tied to him. Offshore, he was preparing to disappear. Disappear and leave me blamed for my own death. Elise blamed for her disappearance. Maria for her silence. His future would have been paid for with our endings. The law doesn't always move fast, but this time it moved right. I thought healing would feel like fireworks. It didn't. It felt like socked feet on cool tile floors, hot tea and quiet mornings, learning the sound of my own voice again. Every sunrise over the ocean whispered, "You survived, now live." I painted again, something I hadn't done since college when dreams were playful before they had price tags. My newest piece sat drying a woman in a dark hallway looking toward a door cracked with light. Her hand was on the handle. She was opening her way out. One evening, just as the sun melted into the horizon, my sister Claire visited. She stood beside me on the balcony, arms folded, eyes on the ocean. "You're different," she said softly. "I'm the woman I was before he convinced me I wasn't enough." She smiled, eyes glinting with pride. "He underestimated your strength." I looked down at my hands, the same ones that once trembled with fear. Now they were steady, capable, reclaimed. "He mistook obedience for love," I said, "and silence for weakness." I set down my teacup. Never again. Later that night, I walked to the shore. The sand was cool under my feet, damp from the receding tide. I stood where the waves kissed my toes, letting the water carry away whatever pieces of him remained. The moon reflected on the surface, broken and beautiful. For the first time in months, I said his name out loud. "Ethan!" There was no fear left in it, no longing, no power. Just a hollow memory of a man who nearly stole my life. I whispered into the surf, "You have no hold here anymore." The ocean swallowed the words whole. My phone buzzed. A message from Elise. Thinking of you tonight. Thank you for never giving up on me. We both get to heal now. I typed back. We saved each other, always. Her reply came with a tiny heart. I smiled. This was what survival looked like: connection, rebirth, possibility. Before heading back home, I turned to look once more at the dark horizon. I wasn't searching for danger anymore. I was looking ahead. A wave crashed, spraying my calves with cool salt water. I laughed, an unrestrained sound I almost didn't recognize. Joy, my joy. Mine. To anyone listening, if you have ever been isolated, gaslit, treated like a character in someone else's story, hear me. You can rewrite the script. You can escape the house built to contain you. You can turn fear into fire. And you can rise. No matter who tried to bury you. We don't always get the justice we deserve, but when we do, we let it shine. So the world can see us. So other women can see us. And know they are not alone. We are not victims. We are the ones who survived. We are the ones who walked upstairs and walked back out. Stronger. Smarter. Unbreakably alive. If my story made you feel stronger, if it reminded you that your voice matters, if it helped you remember who you are, share this with someone who needs to hear it. Follow for more stories of women rising, because sometimes survival deserves witnesses. Thank you for walking with me out of the dark and into the light.